Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, How to Avoid the 7 Deadly Sins of Treating Neuropathy Patients. Your presenters today are Dr. Matt Doduro. Introduce me, Matt.
And Dr. Joe Doduro.
Yeah. Dr. Oz is just our participant. He's here in spirit, right?
Did not make it today.
Did not make it today. We understand you, because we've been doing neuropathy longer than just about everybody when you put us together, any single person. And we know that there's an estimated 50 million people out there suffering from neuropathy right now. Yep. What does that mean? That about 1 in every 7 people in this country are suffering from varying degrees of neuropathy symptoms or have the ability to have neuropathy. Not in this country, really, but in your town. How about in your office, right? And so why are you not making mega bucks in this niche industry? We really were at the cutting edge of founding of this, weren't we, Matt?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, a lot of people were, and just got a little too hard. So to give a little background about Dr. Joe, he is the CEO and founder of Neuropathy Treatment Centers of America. And he has 3 postgraduate degrees. He is a chiropractor, got a diplomat in neurology, and then went on to get a master's in clinical research. And that is when he put this protocol together.
Yep.
And you, Joe, are one of the first people we know of when you came from Italy back to the States that you started using the near-infrared lights and diodes to work with these patients with peripheral neuropathy. Is that true?
That's correct. I mean, I may not be the only one, but I'm the one with the biggest mouth.
In 2006, 2007, you really kicked off Neuropathy Treatment Centers of America. I've been doing it for 9 years here in Atlanta, and it's really, in 23 years of healthcare, the last 9 have been the most rewarding because we're working with people that have been searching and have found no relief, no answer. So, Dr. Joe, I want to thank you for teaching myself and my staff and my associate doctors this wonderful protocol that will help a lot of people.
And the other, think about it this way, the other 800 that I taught and then the ones that they taught and they told a friend and told a friend and told a friend. And well, they've been doing it a long time. They've been grinding it out and maybe they quit doing it. We all made the same mistakes, but they quit. We, on the other hand, we went forward and figured out a new way of doing neuropathy care. And
let me just say, we kept grinding out.
Well, you're a grinder.
We grind it out. And I will say, I've visited some of these offices that used to be some of the top in the country. And we'll tell you why they stopped, what the mistakes they made, and how you can avoid those.
Let's talk about those mistakes, Dr. Matt. Your marketing fizzled out. What happened, Matt?
Early on, we noticed we ran a full page ad. We'd get 35 to 50 calls from that one ad. Your killer ad, Joe, that you used to do, you got over 100 in the Phoenix area. Tell them about.
Well, when I started doing the neuropathy back in 2007, early 6, I put my first ad in the newspaper, insert, down in Casa Grande with the wrong phone number, right? Because it was a different area code. And I got 60 people. Switched the number up, I got 90 new patients. The next month, I got 100 new patients. Again, the famous 247 new patients was not a lie, right?
It was wonderful. And you have always been a guy that managed your practice by statistics. So I was always able to look at your numbers and understand it. I remember back doing chiropractic in central New York, and 400 new patients for a year was a great year. But you did, in a 4 to 6 month period, you did about, what was it, Joe?
247 people. 247 new people. Really, I think it was less than 6 months. But that was all the low-hanging fruit, right?
The low-hanging fruit, and it was easy.
You undersold your care.
We didn't really understand the true value of our care, but this was a ground breaking treatment. We were able to cut the patient's pain in half. I'd say 95% of the people who came into our office came in with a visual analog score of 8, with 0 being no pain, 10 being unbearable pain. These people were living with a 8. And these are our parents and grandparents that were suffering. It was like Chinese water torture. So for in a 4 to 6 week period to take those patients from an 8 down below a 4, I mean, money wasn't enough to pay us. They cared about it. And, people in pain will pay whatever. And the good thing is how do you find a win-win, right? We don't want to trade their neuropathy pain for a financial pain. And that was the hardest thing to work with. Well,
I remember when I started doing the neuropathy, talk about undercellular care. When I started to do the neuropathy, I had a couple of anodyne units, and the lady came in. Her leg was this big. And I said, you have neuropathy? I said, yeah, I got neuropathy. And I said, well, Medicare doesn't cover it. And then said, she says, how much is the care? I says, it's $60 extra on top of Medicare. She says, that's too high. I says, will you do for 35? She said, okay. So really, we didn't have a standard operating procedure. Many of us didn't to close, right? No sales training whatsoever. We didn't understand the value of our care. And you know what, Matt, when we started doing this, we weren't really sure that they were going to get better.
We didn't have clinical certainty. That's right.
Let's see if this goes. You used inferior treatment equipment, sometimes in the wrong way.
Some people bought equine pads. Some people used the anodynes. Some people used Hakamed, which is an electric stim type of unit that they can put on patients. Now, patients feel it, but really one of your early theories, Dr. Joe, was that if you take an electrical charge and you put it on a weak nerve, it only drives that nerve weaker. So maybe there's a time for electric stim, but it isn't during the initial intensive phase of their care. The Chinese pads, in the last few years, clinics have been switching to this. It's a little cheaper and they can make a little more money, but does the patient get the results they desire? In our studies, we showed that those Chinese pads were 1/20th of the strength, and most likely the patients were going to get 1/20th of the results. So how do we solve that?
Well, people were using the electric machines, to give them stimulation. And that meant, you spent $25,000 and in order for them to get that machine, they had to come to your office. So that was sort of like a downer, and if the point is, if you overstimulate a sick nerve, it will die. So you create more neuropathy, and that maybe allows them to feel a little bit better, but basically you didn't do them any good.
How many of those Hakamed units do you need to treat, 10 or 15 people in a morning? It's tough.
I never saw the value in it.
Never used it in either of our offices, and we'll review some of our results later.
You had nothing objective to show the patient. You had no exam, or the doctors themselves were not proficient in the exam technique.
One of the beautiful things about this program, and I give you credit, Dr. Joe, is how you modified the Toronto clinical scoring system and how you made it a baseline test for patients with diabetic and peripheral neuropathy. And what's beautiful about this is that we get a score, a level of where they're at. And each patient, the way Dr. Joe set this up, could be their own case study. So the wonderful thing is we have a baseline. We go through 4 weeks of treatment. We retest them, see where they're at. We get a percentage of improvement. Mm-hmm. We can go on for a second month or third month of care, but we're constantly able to track that. And I think that is the area is people have lost that art of utilizing the Toronto clinical scoring system.
Yeah. I think, let me speak to that, because a lot of people have, tried to reproduce this test and the stuff, and some people didn't even know that it was my test, even though it's copyrighted right underneath there on the stuff. And I've seen paperwork where they even keep my my copyright, my name down there. But we'd had doctors that said, hey, take an x-ray of them, and they say, well, see this x-ray here, this is the bone is out, and that's where you're pinching a nerve, and that's why you get that neuropathy in your leg. And the patient said, hey, I've been to the Mayo Clinic, man. I got 5 doctors taking care of me. I think that what you're saying is bullshit. So, yes, they had no way to educate the patient to show that they understood what neuropathy was. They had no mastery of the exam. Dr. Matt, my brother, he put an entire diagnostic wing in his clinic to give 100% objective findings to these patients that showed up. And they paid. And he showed the changes. He showed the results.
And the other thing, a lot of groups and consultants now are saying, we don't even do an exam.
Well,
I mean, they only do an exam if the patient is getting worse. To me, there's no value in that. We have to bring this whole level and this whole profession up a couple notches. And having that baseline test for these patients, it's beautiful when they come back 2 years, 3 years, 5 years later. We can always look at that. And guess what? This is what's educating the other doctors. We now get more referrals from oncologists, endocrinologists, and neurologists than ever before because of those reports that we've been able to print and show progress over the time.
Okay. Your marketing costs skyrocketed, and that meant your ROI went in the toilet.
So a perfect example of that, Joe, is when we used to do internet or our full page ads in the paper, it was about $60 to $70 per lead. That's for the phone to ring. That's not them coming in your office. So, I mean, with print ads, we saw that go to $250, $300, $399. At about $399 per lead, you really can't afford to stay in this game unless you have like an unbelievable conversion rate. So for many of us, the price to acquire those patients just got too high. And that's when a lot of these guys started saying, I'm going to move on to the next one. I wonder if depression's coming back. I wonder if we could do stem cells. I wonder if we could, anything new, the next new thing. The area are you really watching your marketing costs, really, these people? I mean, how many leads are falling through the cracks, And we used to say, oh, you could open up the paper in Phoenix and find 4 half-page ads for neuropathy on Sunday at $6,000 a pop, right? What kind of conversion you're going to get in that? What's your ability to do that? There's not that type of competition anymore. The marketing got saturated. We had an $8,000 to $10,000 budget for our TV ads, which when we started literally got 200 prospect calls a month. And towards the end, we'd get 7 leads on a $7,000 marketing spend. That's $1,000 per lead. It was just ridiculous. Well, there was nothing left after the marketing, paying for your building, your employees. There was just nothing left over. So a lot of people left. And when I went to visit these docs that were high-end neuropathy clinics around the country, it was like walking into the Western town that there was tumbleweeds going. They're like, yeah, we took care of all the neuropathy people in our town. But they didn't realize their marketing it wasn't as efficient as it used to be. So they thought they'd fixed everybody, but that wasn't the case.
I don't agree. There's new people every day. You did not offer proper or even any type of maintenance care.
It's true. I mean, we were so busy early on taking care of these new patients and processing them. And, we would see them for basically a 2 months, really intensive initial part in the first 4 weeks. And then we would wean them down. And, our goal was to sell them on maintenance. But many people were like, yeah, if the problem comes back, I'll come back, So we undereducated these patients. This disease, World Health Organization classifies neuropathy as a progressive and degenerative condition. So there's no cure for it. And the biggest disservice we might have done is we resuscitated these patients in office, 12, 15 visits, got them decrease their pain. They felt more feeling in their feet. They moved better. And then they were on their way. But 6 months, 9 months, a year, their pain would come back. And some of the people that had balls would call us back and say, hey, Dr. D, what happened? My pain's... And I'd say, Mrs. Smith, remember I told you? This is a progressive disease with no cure. And you got to come back in. It's always like that.
We'd have people that would go on TV with us, and do the testimonial. Everything was great. And, we put their picture in an ad, like 2 years later. They say, that didn't work for me. Like, wait a minute, you were on TV, because there was no cure for this disease. We really didn't know back then that, guess what? If your diabetes stays there for the rest of your life, your nerve damage is going to stay there for the rest of your life. And when we tried to get them to come back in, okay, so you want me to give you another $4,000 to do the care, come back in and do it in the office again. Oh, well, we tell them, well, your tumor has returned. No, it's not that important to them. They're like, I already paid you for this, right? And we never even understood that we could have been selling them supplements the whole time. We could have maintained them in a lot of different ways.
Or changing their diet has been so.
Oh.
So one of the things
Are you going to do this one?
You did that.
No, you turned down the people. You turned people away because they were too far away or they were too far gone. Matt?
I mean, some of our docs in our system, they love the fact that people would drive 3 and 5 hours away to come to them for care. I mean, it was good for the doctor's ego, but who was it good for? Was it good for the patient? And so oftentimes that distance was an issue. And we didn't have any neuropathy treatment centers in their location. So, I mean, obviously length and distance was an issue. Too far gone. I mean, I was guilty of this. I thought some of these people that were really bad, that didn't score really high on the test, maybe who had a crippling disability, I couldn't manage them in my clinic, or had open wounds or sores. And I mean, Joe, you kind of schooled me on this. You said it best. Who are we to make the determination if they're too far gone? Yeah, maybe for the office.
Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't that the patient was too far gone. It's that your treatment protocols were too short-sighted. Of course, it may be tough for them to get better with a minimum, input of the therapy 3 times a week. But if they were doing it at home and their protocol was every day, well, they get 100% more care. But if they did it twice a day, they get 200% more care. Allow that body the chance to use that healing energy to get better.
We know it works. We just don't know how fast it works. I mean, you always said that. And I think, like you said, we just didn't have the vision of how unbelievable this care could be.
And the big problem with that was home therapy equipment was super expensive. It was just too expensive for the average person. How about your person, Matt? Who's this guy?
Well, hey, this is Joe Rogers, and he's one of the founders of Waffle House. There's over 1,900 of these across the country. And he just happened to live 5 miles south of one of our clinics here in Atlanta. And Joe was 94 years old when he came into my office, and he's been a great mentor from a business side. And Joe had an injury and wasn't healing well and wasn't able to play golf. So he really was looking for something to help improve his circulation and decrease the pain in his feet and legs. He literally had to have a driver from one of the Waffle House bring him in for the first clinic and diagnostic testing. And he did his first treatment with us, and he felt good afterwards. but he said it was going to be too difficult even to come just 5 miles. And he said, but can I have one of these clinical systems in my house? And I thought, well, you're the first guy that ever asked me. So we put it together. And I mean, it was literally like a $7,000, clinical package, the same thing that we use in all of our other offices. And he had round the clock nurses that we trained and taught. And Joe would use these, not just on his feet, but different parts of his body. And, he responded very well, and, amazing results. And he really was the one that said, you got to bring the cost down. You got to find out how you can make every person with neuropathy or diabetes be able to utilize these. And you had that vision as well, Joe.
That's right.
We couldn't figure out how to make those two things work.
But now we did, because we completely fixed these mistakes and these problems. Because what we're offering is an in-office / home care hybrid neuropathy model. Okay. And I'm going to go into all the details of that. But one of the things is we have partnered with it. Inlight Neuro is the company that sells home care units directly from your office. We have a system that's economical, it's FDA cleared, and it is the one that has the most efficacy, the best results that we've seen.
Go back to the top ones are the ones on the left right there. These are the same design that you developed for the Pro Neuro Lights, the same company that we've used for 9 and 10 years. And, this is all I've used in my office.
That's right.
And I can honestly say that the results have continued, and it's like clockwork. So, but before, just one of those little podiatric pads was about $1,400. And
just this one here.
Yeah.
Control.
You would have to use it for 21 minutes on one side and then use it for another 20 minutes. And, time is an issue. The people want convenience. They don't want to have to drive an hour into your office, spend an hour here for care, then drive back. 3 hours out of their life. So wouldn't it be beautiful for them to be able to get treatment that's necessary at an affordable price? And it's a win-win for everybody.
And think of it this way: if they had the two-pad light, the paint system down there, that costs pretty, it's negligible, the cost. And guess what? They can put it on any place on their body that they want. They come to the office, doctor puts it on their feet. Well, I got a knee problem. I got a neck problem. But doctor, you only get 20 minutes here and then you got to go. Right? This gives them the opportunity to treat all the places that hurt for their chronic pain.
Other thing is, back to that one, Joe, we in Atlanta, we're in a very big personal injury market. We're using these pain pads on whiplash, radiculopathy. These patients are loving it. Not to mention some of the wonderful results that we're seeing from people in some of the studies with closed head injuries and things like that. So that's coming in our future webinars, but just to give you a little teaser. Next.
Now this product is made in America for 33 years. This is the founder of actual light therapy or LED therapy. It's a Class 2 medical device. It's FDA cleared. Matt, would you like to use stuff in your office that's not cleared by the FDA? Would you like to sell that stuff out of your office that's not cleared by the FDA?
No way. And I'll tell you what, it's short-sighted if you're going to use different pads from out of the country that are cheaper made, and they're not even cleared. Why would you want to even sell those to patients and open up that can of worms? It's just not.
You want the black SUVs pulling up at your office?
No, sir.
No, sir. But we go beyond that. We're going to have a doctor-only, prescription-only pad. They can't get it on the internet, can't get it any place else. They can only get these pads from your office because it's going to have RX, prescription only, from your office.
So one thing to say here is it seems like, our profession, unfortunately, sometimes we have to police this, our own profession. And people like to go backdoor. They want a better deal. They want to do this. They want to do that. And that was one of the problems with the early pro neuro pads. People could get them in different places and buy them from companies. But with this program, we have the best price of anywhere in the country for these type of class 2 medical devices. One pad from a competitor is $975. We're getting 2 pads for our doctors. And guess what? Their class 2 medical device is cleared.
You know, that, I just let me point out, over 100,000 units have been manufactured and sold in the last 30 years. Less than 3 units are returned a year. 3, right? These units are designed to last 10 years. Okay?
I'm at 9 years with ours, and like workhorses.
We test 100%. This is from the factory. We test 100% of the systems before shipping. They have less than 2% defect rate on the new systems, right? Less than 6% of the systems need any type of repair at all in the first 2 years. That's a workhorse. This is what it's made to do, right? We have 100, what is that? It's made to last 10 years. Some of these people, because we're selling it to them, we're giving this to them as part of their care. Take these units and go home. We'll see you in a little while, right? If they need any repairs, 100% warranty for the first 12 months. And if it fails in the first 15 months, we'll still repair it for free.
And let me tell you what we've done the last couple of years, even since Joe Rogers. Joe, using it every day, he had some issues with the wires. We sent him in. We take care of our patients, and we expect you guys to do the same. It costs us $10 to mail in those pads, get them refurbished and sent back. And in the meantime, we keep some loaners so that our patients are never without the proper treatment.
I mean, how many places have sold these many units? You know? Nobody. So this is what we're talking about. This is the program. Basically, do you already do neuropathy, or have you done it in the past? Did you already invest in a program to learn how to do neuropathy, but maybe it's not getting the pop that it had before? Well, at InLight Neuro, if that's a yes, we're going to offer you no fee, no monthly dues. We teach you our hybrid home system sales program for free. Matt.
And if you have never done neuropathy before but want to help people in your community, then we're going to put together a marketing program. We'll teach you our advertising. We have an unbelievable 25-minute documentary that's going to be used as an infomercial that's going to be coming out next month. It is going to rock and roll. It tells the story of how Dr. Joe and myself got into this, and just some unbelievable real live testimonials from people in our community. So we'll teach you how to do the call center. We'll have monthly coaching events. We're going to have a Facebook group, and we'll teach you the management, because we've learned over the last 9 and 10 years what the conversion rate should be. And, we don't want you to make clinical recommendations that you wouldn't do to your own family members. And that's really the key. We don't want to trade their neuropathy for a financial issue. But we also want every single patient that has this debilitating disease to have a tool. And Joe, I always say it's much like my wife's been a diabetic 15 years, type 1. For the last 13 years, she's had a pump. And the thing that's so cool about it is that pump did not reverse her diabetes, but it's a tool that allowed her to manage her condition much better. And that's what these pads do for these patients. They help decrease pain, improve circulation, and they can target the area that has poor circulation. So
this is what we're bringing to our clients that are watching this webinar: an in-office home care hybrid neuropathy model. They come in for their evaluation, which we're going to help you become very clinically proficient in it. We're going to give you the scripting that you need. We're going to be able to do it at Toronto. and help you out with that. Standard operating procedures manual, A to Z, on how to do this thing from the phone call to the close,
What
right?
was that say, Joe? The doctor that makes the diagnosis is king in the patient's eyes.
Well, and many times, and that's what it happens in neuropathy care. He who makes the first diagnosis is king. And what we're going to allow these people to do is be monitored by your office, because we already have the results. You know, we know it works. We just got to see, does it going to work on you? Matt, talk about this paper that you consulted, and these were actually your patients.
Yeah, this is an overview study of 152 patients who came through our Atlanta clinic. And again, the protocols you put together, each patient could be its own case study. So we stuck to your original as close as we could. And we had the proper questionnaires. We did the proper pain VAS scores. And what we found was pretty astonishing. The average patient that came through our program was 64 years old. Their initial pain was right there at about that 8 level. And after basically 5 weeks and 6 weeks and 18 in-office visits, we were able to cut their pain down by more than half, by 56%. Mm-hmm. Now, you know that pain can drain the life out of you. So with less pain, these people have more energy. And this is something I try to hit home with my team members, is that it's not about just getting these patients out of pain. It's about giving them their life back. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, they're able to travel. They're able to move and exercise. Movement is the key for our body to keep going. Now, so the only other thing I want to say is that they also had 20% more feeling in their feet bilaterally. And that's just after the in-office. And I'll tell you what we're starting to see just doing this hybrid method for the last 8-9 months. Is that we're seeing about a 40% improvement in those patients with the home systems. Now think about this. You know, people go from a moderate to severe. They get, for those 5 weeks, they get to a certain point, and then they kind of plateaued off. But without the treatment, they would slowly deteriorate again. Patients with the at-home program, the hybrid system, they improved the first month, they improved the second month, and then they plateaued. But guess what? They continued to stay on that line as they used the units.
That's right.
And that's really the key that we're seeing, is patients able to have it, staying on a regimen, and making it convenient for them, not an hour per day, but literally both their feet or hands can be done in as little as 20 minutes.
Now, let me speak to this study. This is absolutely the reproducible study that we did in my office, you know, back in the day. Same exact results. Matt, you should also point out that not only did their feeling increase, but their restless leg scores also went down, right? And remember, these were diabetic patients. These were long-standing diabetic patients that had it only 3 times a week. These are excellent results.
Let me just say, Joe, that the data in this paper shows that we have the most efficient and effective tool to help manage this debilitating condition. And you had that poster board presentation back in 2009 that was really kind of the foundation for us to do this study. So it was, again, reproducible. And then we've had
it's informed almost every study that used photobiomodulation therapy or light therapy, going forward. This is some of the research that I used when I did the ProNeural Lights, the same company, that we showed regeneration of the tissue, right? Nerve tissue grew back in the patients that were treated with it. This is the first time in history that a therapy actually worked.
I like to use the word rehabilitation because we feel these sensory nerves have been in a dormant or hibernated state. And that when you're able to activate or jumpstart the body with the lights, they're able to awaken and come out of that dormant state.
Well,
Talk about this, Joe. This is
this is
wonderful.
this is one of the first studies that we did with the Neuro TCA. We had 17 clinics across the country, and we had them enter their data into a database. And we started these people. It was over 100 patients, and after the end of 2 weeks of their care, from the initial time they started their care, an average of about a little bit less, 6 or less visits, we asked them one simple question. Listen, are you satisfied with your care to this point? 90% of them said yes, right? In as little as 2 weeks, 90% of these people were satisfied with their care. Only a few were undecided. You know, they really were just, I'm not sure yet. And a couple, like one person said, you know, hey, I'm not really, this isn't working for me, you know, had up. So, you know, we've shown that this light therapy, photobiomodulation with our light system is very well responded to by patients.
Here's the thing. That was, you presented that in June of 2009, I believe, down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And that, we see this number and the satisfaction rate over and over in different clinics across the country.
That's right. So talk about the bottom line. I mean, the hybrid results. What did you say that when using, you know, you're an expert at the Toronto clinical scoring scale. Tell them what you used to do in the office. I mean, you have all the protocols, you have all the tools to do this, but show them what you found out with your doing the Toronto.
So, the in-office, again, we were resuscitating these patients in the office for 4 to 6 weeks, 12 to 15 visits. We'd get them better, and then we'd send them on their way. They'd have a 20% improvement. About a third of those people maintain those 20% improvements. About a third of those people would start fizzling off. And about a third of those people would actually call us to come back in. And again, we were not well versed in maintenance care. And patients didn't always they felt like it was double dipping, right? But there's no cure for this. The tool that giving them a dual podiatric low-level light pad that they can utilize at home, the clinical results are now showing about 40% improvement after 60 days. And again, they're maintaining it. You have to use the lights and put them on, but it works.
That's right. And what about the bottom line that you found in your office, Matt?
Oh, this thing was great. We moved in the last year from a 6,000 square foot facility down to a 2,200 square foot facility. We need less people because we have less people, you know, treating in the office, and that our payroll has gone down, and, you know, we're able to put more money in our pocket. So
and think of it this way. I mean, how long did it take you to train your staff to put the pads on the patient?
I mean, it
Initially.
Initially, I mean, we would be pretty intensive with it. It took time.
So let's say, so it's not, you know, as I said, it's how long does it take to learn to change a tire, right?
Right.
So you were spending like time to train these people and then paying them a huge amount of money to do a very, very simple task. So
That's right.
Now we just train the patients to do it. And the patients go home and do it and guess what? They can do it whenever they want. They don't have to do it when you're open. They can put it wherever they want. And when you put a system together, you're able to close more people right off the bat.
And listen, it's so much easier. We have some more people in our call center because we're using them more as case managers. They're calling these patients every 2 weeks, finding out if there's any issues. And, you know, we're just able to stay on top of this, again, using technology and working with these patients.
So I think that the system really, the linchpin was allowing us to have high quality economic pads that have been around since the beginning. This is the original light therapy pad. This is the original LED light therapy pad, just with all the modern technology today that we're offering to our people. We're not asking for any $1,200 up front and $997 a month for 2 years. Matt, that's a $25,000 bucks.
We'll save these people. They can, utilize that money to take care of their family, take them on a trip, whatever it is. But
we are no fee. I'm talking zero money Neuro TCA neuropathy treatment program. We are the nofeeneuro.com docs. No fee neuro. And that's what we're saying. We offer that to you. Our in-office home care hybrid neuropathy model. It's so much easier to just do it with us, follow the protocols, get the lights, right? And take care of your people.
The beautiful thing is that my little office, my smaller office, now has a stronger reach. It's like we have been able to boost my Wi-Fi coverage. It's like my coverage is now on steroids because we're getting people from 2-3 hours away that can come in for the initial diagnostics, and they're at home and using this treatment in the convenience of their own home.
And we know we've talked to some of our the friends and family on this, and really they're excited because even if they tried, they can't get a price that's close to this. And you can put that into a case fee that covers everything.
We're seeing that your return on each patient is about $2,000. I mean, anybody can get some type of lights, cheap ones, whatever, but really the knowledge is how you apply those lights. And what we've done over 10 years is we have perfected that, right? Our grandpa came from 100 years. We have a painting company in central New York. And our grandfather, when he would give quotes to people to paint the house, people would say, wow, that's a lot of money. And he'd say, hey, you can go buy your own gallon of paint, but the knowledge is how to apply it. And that's what we're going to be there for you, is to teach you to become proficient in that Toronto clinical score.
That's
and
right.
How to use these lights for your patients and your community in the best way.
A standardized procedure, A to Z, manual on everything from the phone call to the close, right? The treatment protocols, improving your Toronto, and helping you, with your treatment protocols. Everything you need to help these people get better, and at the same time, you're going to help yourself get better. You can call us for more information, 855-285-7246. Say it again, Dr. Matt.
855-285-7246. That's 855-ATL and then paint.
And we would like to offer for the first 25 callers a 10% discount on all of your purchases.